Okay, so we are preparing to go live, and here we are. All right. Well, I am very excited to know that we are broadcasting here right after a very special week. That is a week of gratitude focused in on Thanksgiving. Mike, before we get started here, what are you thankful for?
Yeah, I have a list as long as my arm. I've got a great family. We are literally like a tribe. We support each other. I've got a wonderfully supportive wife who I've been married to for 40 years, and she supports me 100% likewise. But we have three kids and two boys and a girl. And when anybody calls, we're 100% there for any support that we have possibly to give. And that's how I live my family. But also, my work on earth is not done until I've helped prepare everyone that I love for the future. So that's what I'm most grateful for, is that I'm able to do the work that I love. And it's just the same work that I do for clients is pretty much the same work that I do for my own family and kids. I think that is what I am most grateful for.
We have a lot to be thankful for, and hope you had a chance to really express that to your friends, to your family, whether or not you were able to sit at the same dinner table or just connect with people virtually. My name is Jim T. Chong. I go by the Walk Star, and we're with somebody also very known in his space. He is Mike Hayes. He is known as the Network King. Welcome. So,
Thank you.
Mike, it is great always to be able to come together with you. And I know there's a lot of innovation, a lot of things that we can share with people. And today, I see in your backdrop you have a smartphone audio books network for multimedia follow-up integration. Now, I know we touched upon and introduced multimedia follow-up the last time we got together here. And this is going to be really key for everything that we talk about here. And we're going to begin by talking about two of the really good platforms that people are using in today's world. That's Eventbrite and also MeetUp. But before we jump right into that, Mike, I'd like to turn the floor over to you and talk about what is multimedia follow-up and why is it important?
Sure. Well, first of all, I've been doing it meetups for a long, long time. In fact, I'm the lead organizer of the Meetup Organizer Network, which is owned and operated by meetup.com. And when I network with people like David Siegel, the CEO of Meetup. So we have about 150,000 followers collectively in our meetup organizations. So I do know the platforms pretty well. I know that there's an integration that's really important with technologies. A quick story: when I interviewed Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, and I've interviewed hundreds of people like him, I realized he didn't really create all of the wiring in the computer. He brought in different component parts that existed, wired them up properly, and created the computer. And that was profound. That had a profound effect on me, that sometimes it's combining things that are unique and seeing how to combine them in a different way that other people can't see. And when you integrate those things together, then you use the strength of one to offset the inherent weakness of the other, and then you can create a real powerhouse. So that's a little bit about my background in Meetup and Eventbrite and networking. And I've always been doing networking, Jim, for a long, long time. So I've always been interested in that.
Especially carrying it into today's modern day world, there's a lot of different platforms, a lot of events that people can attend online virtually, especially during this past year with everything that had gone on. Now, what I wanted to do was I came up with this topic in light of some things that you were sharing with me. But this whole thing about multimedia follow up is so very important. But before we jump into that topic specifically and how to effectively follow up with people in today's marketplace, we really have to be aware of why we are attending specific meetings. So, number one is I hope all of you, as you attend different meetings, that you guys define your purpose on why you are attending a specific type of meeting. Secondly, I want to be able to talk with you about two primary platforms. One Mike brought up there, that is the Meetup space, of which, again, he is one of the primary collaborators. What was the official title of that group again in San Francisco that you run for Meetup?
Yeah, well, my position is the lead organizer of the Meetup Organizer Network. So it's a network of Meetup organizers. And I realized how important multimedia follow-up was to them to really use it as a platform to grow your business.
Yeah. And so definitely, just a little bit, no, actually quite a bit about the Meetup platform itself that's been around for a long time. But I noticed that you actually have been really focused a lot on teaching people just on how to be an expert with Eventbrite itself. Can you tell us a little bit about these two platforms and why it's important to use one over the other if there is an importance? Mike.
Yeah, I think there is. And I've been doing beta testing with Meetup on how they want to adapt to the new reality of business. Because we had an old normal where we actually met, in person, shook hands and hugged and did all kinds of different things that we can't do right now. So Meetup realized that they really needed to change. I call the distinction the old normal versus the new reality. So I help people adapt to the new reality, including Meetup. How they can adapt to the new reality, because like anybody else, they need to. Now, I've been at this for about 30 years, so I've seen a lot of evolutions. I've seen things change. There used to be a mentality online of doing business that was called a walled garden. And that's where organizations tried to create a wall. You come into the network, they build a wall, but it was beautiful. So they put flowers and they called it a walled garden, and they wanted to keep you in there. But then, people didn't want that. They wanted to break out. They wanted more freedom and not just be locked into it like a silo. Okay. And so what I've seen is that the companies that were disruptors of the walled garden style of meetings were the biggest successful companies. So I don't think the idea of the walled garden is good for anybody today, and everybody needs an online presence. So you want to be much more free range, open, and to all different options. So the fusion or integration, as I would call it, is that when I promote my meetups on Meetup, I tell people to register on Eventbrite, because Meetup is what I would call a walled garden. They hold on to the information. You can email people, but you have to do it within the email of Meetup. So you can, and they have to opt in. Do you want to get emails from the organizer or not? So it's a lot more difficult, okay, and limiting. But Eventbrite is really an open range platform. So if you register there, you own the information of the people that register for your event on Eventbrite. So that's one of the mixes. And there's some keys, Jim, to doing that. When I post a meeting on Meetup, I don't say register, click here. I tell them, here's the link, go register for the event on Meetup. Then I created a gateway out of the walled garden of Meetup, and so that I can interact directly with people. And what I love about Eventbrite in particular, they have a multimedia follow-up system built right into Eventbrite. So it's knowing the inside things, the inside tips and tricks that make all the difference, Jim. You're muted.
And I just wanted to share and remind people about what it's like when you speak when you're muted. All right, that was no, but in all sincerity, um, you know, what you present some pretty interesting concepts, the walled garden, as you call it. There's a lot of exclusive groups, networking groups, and there's a role that's played in an exclusive group. We know of some big established ones, BNI, Business Networking International, and the whole idea is that we create this exclusive group of which you can pay money, be a part of our club, and so therefore you get a captive audience, and you're also able to provide your business. And there's not really a whole lot of competition, because pretty much your competition is kept on the outside, but everything's good because we're all on the inside, right? But things have really changed today in today's model. And it seems like a lot of people are looking to be able to meet a lot more people. And so that is kind of the difference between networking back then, the old normal versus a new reality where people can jump on to almost any meeting and start meeting new people. Now, doing it intentionally and successfully, that's something I know that we teach people. But the whole idea is that to really understand and embrace the mentality of what is happening today. Now, Mike, you put together a really good slide. I don't know if you have that available, showing us a little bit about the meetup, and I know you've worked professionally with that organization, networking even with the CEO of that organization. Can you share with us just kind of conceptually kind of what you see the differences are? And you explained it a little bit, but hopefully this will help better explain it and describe to some people the meetup concept versus the Eventbrite concept. My case, the network king.
All right, thanks, Jim. Be happy to. So basically, things have changed, and use Meetup is two things. There's meetup.com, which is kind of an online platform, like a mini targeted advertising platform for your meetup. So you post your meetup invitation, that's advertising. Hey, come to my meetup. But then there's the actual meetup itself, the meeting where you get together. So those are two different things. And so what happens is now the meetings are online. And when COVID hit, everybody started to go to Zoom meetings and instead of in-person meetings. And suddenly you're, especially in speed networking, you're in front of one person after the next. And, because when COVID hit, a lot of marketing, branding, storytelling, communication went right out the window. And that's hurt things. That's really disrupted business. And I'll explain why. So people just started going to networking events, and there's a lot of people, put on big networking events like I do every month. I put on big networking events, but nobody is really teaching how the multimedia branding that we used to do went out the window. But so the meetings still happen, but sales and signups are the things that's really suffered. Because if I meet with you and I see you, but I like you, but we're not doing business. I can't, I'm not ready to buy from you. We just met. In the old days, the marketing come first. If I called you up, it's because I wanted to buy a bike or financial planning or something. But now we just are thrown into meetups or, online, and we just meet each other. Hi, da, da, da. So if you're not doing follow-up, why are you even bother going? Because, what's the point? And you're not going to make a sale right there. That who wants to just, hi, I'm Mike, I could beat you at Denny's and just buy something from you. That doesn't make any sense. So basically, that's what you want to do, is you want to do the multimedia follow-up. So that's why the integration between Meetup and Eventbrite is vitally important. And multimedia, what's multimedia? It's a graphic. That's good for Instagram or Pinterest. That's like your billboard online. Then what's your story? Well, if you don't have a compelling story to tell, what good is the graphic if there's no good story? So you have to have a story to tell. And then people want to learn more about you. Why are you a guide or an expert that they should want to work with? What is your story? Why should I trust you? Okay. Well, one, if you follow up, it says, hey, Jim is not just somebody who said something at a meeting. He followed up. He's there. He's in real business. So I think that follow-up is vitally important. And as I say, networking without follow-up, a terrible thing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, they say the fruit is in the follow up. We also talked about this last time. That still is true in everything that we do. And I think this is a beautiful slide sharing with us. Meetup, has its place, but as you mentioned, pretty much all of the internal information, everything's really kept internally within Meetup versus Eventbrite, where you can actually download information from the people that subscribe. And also, it has its own internal calendaring information that functions arguably more effectively for the user to be able to get out there, download, and actually manipulate it, and even potentially use Eventbrite like, kind of as a very simplified CRM. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And the other one is Zoom, because a lot of people are using Zoom. In fact, Zoom is integrated into Meetup, and it's also integrated into Eventbrite. So you can register on Zoom, and Zoom is open range or free range. So if they register, you get the information from Zoom, or you can get it from Eventbrite, one or the other. But Zoom doesn't have that built-in CRM type follow-up. It's not a sophisticated CRM, but it's good for mass mailings out to everybody who registered. But you want to have multimedia, so that not just a text or an email with text, but you want to have a picture, you want to have graphics, you want to have your story. Well, I happen to think that the best storytelling is with, and fastest for people. You can spend 2 years writing a book, and then, like I did, and create a best-selling book that is already obsolete. I don't even tell people about the book anymore, because things have changed so much that the book is now obsolete. Well, with an audio book, you get the best of all worlds. You get the book graphic, you get the instant credibility, you get the speed to market, and you can post the audiobook graphic on Pinterest, Eventbrite, and you can email it out to. See, through Eventbrite, Jim, you can immediately reach out not even to networkers, but to consumers. Okay, so you can go out to Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, Twitter. So when you have an audio book, you have instant credibility about what you have to offer, and you can take your reach far, far further and better with an audio book. And I like to do interviews so that I help people build up their own credibility quickly and effectively. So that's why I personally love storytelling and audiobooks to do it. And I've created a whole audiobooks network to help people to grow their audience.
Yeah, and it's really important for people to understand the power of a story right now. If you look at even how Google is really positioning itself structurally, a lot of it's to capture biography, to capture history. Really, it's setting you up to help you tell your story as well. So there are some things that are really important for you to understand about this space. I love this picture as well. Just talk about the integration of Zoom with Eventbrite. And, we hope that as you take a look and think about just your way of functioning in today's world, today's virtual world, that we're giving you some things to really consider. It does matter what platform you use. You should pay attention to what is out there, the Zoom, the Eventbrite, the Meetup. Why Eventbrite is superior to use for actual collaboration and connection, more effective than Meetup. Why is Zoom really one of the prevailing platforms that's being used today? There's a reason behind all these, and that's what we're here to do, is to help you point you in the right direction in terms of using these platforms. Now, before we jump into actual multimedia follow up, this is really a really interesting slide that you're showing here. Can you tell us what you're trying to demonstrate through this slide here, Mike?
Sure. Now, the thing is, people might be getting a headache right now, thinking, oh my goodness, there's something else to learn, or no. We get that, folks. I want you to understand that. We're not about that. although there are agencies that want to confuse you so they can charge more, frankly. But I believe that a simplification is a gain. You don't need to know everything about MeetUp to use it. You don't need to know everything about Zoom to use it successfully. You don't need to know everything about Eventbrite. That's the other thing I do, Jim, is help curate the platforms and the parts of it that are the most important. Okay, so you can only choose the key parts of each one. For example, what I love about Zoom is that it not only provides video meetings like this, but it also provides recordings. You can broadcast live to Facebook or YouTube, and it also provides data collection. So that's something you don't get everywhere. But then Eventbrite is a search engine. So that helps you with your search engine optimization. People look for events. So if you're posting an event, like the term online virtual business networking has been Googled 1.3 billion times. So people go on, that's what they're looking for when they search, and they go, oh, Jim's doing a networking event on his specialty, audio books, or whatever somebody's specialty could be. Then you capture the information, but you can also use the built-in automated networking follow-up that is a part of Eventbrite. So we curate what the key platforms are and what the key components are that can really help make those work. And when you grow that, then how can you help grow your audience like I've done? This is a recent networking event I did. I want to help people to grow their audience, tell their story, and I capture those by interviewing them, real simple, and then help them to take, their business upward to wherever they want to go, because we're not in the new reality, Jim. We're not grounded by our location, but my network will work equally well locally, nationally, or globally for people that really want to, take their business worldwide. So we have a lot of different ways that we can help people. And I just think that the multimedia integration part of it is important, and you wanted the right tool to do it. And that's why I think that the audio books are so important, because the graphics and the stories that are inside of them.
We're going to be talking more about the audiobook, just a whole concept and why it's one of the most powerful marketing vehicles that you can use, marketing platforms. But before we end out, one of the things that I wanted us to talk about, we focused a lot on multimedia follow-up integration. And we could even say it's an automated multimedia follow-up integration. What is your process when you connect with people? Now, Mike, I know you've been in this industry for decades, literally, and you've been very seasoned in how you look at things from point of view of, how we used to do things, the branding, getting the brand out, making sure people knew what the brand was. Then we met people, and then they've already kind of had a concept of what we were doing. And then, we knew that when we contacted people that they knew a little bit about what we did. Well, all that's changed right now. And a lot of people are trying to get to the handshake and the deal before the other person really knows anything about them, right? Can you please explain to us just why this is important? Because this is very key, as really, there are no real shortcuts. Everything that applied then also applies now in terms of credibility. So I want you to really pay attention to this as Mike explains to you just a really important concept that sometimes is easily forgotten, especially in this virtual space. So Mike, I want to turn this over to you to just really summarize the things we talked about and how people can be most effective in today's virtual world. Mike Hayes.
Thanks, Jim. This is from a slideshow that I do, and I got that big number 5. So it is about really how you order things. So let me go to the old reality that people can relate to, unless you've just started your first business. But the way things used to work in the old normal was we would advertise, we would do publicity, we would do branding, promotions, marketing, advertising to tell people up front who we were. We call that spray and pray. We just put it out there everywhere spend a ton of money not knowing what works or what didn't. And we would get enough people to contact us that we would be able to do a presentation meeting with them, sell them a new book or a financial planner. And I use those two because one is hard goods and one is professional, but it works equally the same for both. But what you want to get is sales and signups and product sales. That's how things used to work, right? Okay. So then when the pandemic hit, all of that went out the window. People went, oh, because it goes back to networking. People, go to learn, wow, what's going on today? What are you doing in your business? So they would all dash off to online business networking events. That's how things changed like that. But what happened was, when people started doing that, they're in these uncomfortable meetings that I talk about, like a first blind date, and there is no branding, media, and marketing. So you don't even know why you're there with somebody. It's awkward and uncomfortable. And people, so naturally, they try to make sales right there. And that does not work. And that makes it even super uncomfortable. So what I realized, and this was my recognition, that through years and years of being a documentary researcher and really looking at this and the history of retail, I realized that what was missing was, when branding and media and marketing out the window, so did signups and sales. And putting on big networking events, I realized, I asked people, what is it that you really want? I wanted to meet more people. I want to make more sales. So I realized we had to change the order up of the way we do things. So we had to put, this is the natural thing that happens first, but we can't stop doing this or we won't get the sales and signups. But what happens when you change the order of these? When you do the online virtual networking events first, which we often do, you still absolutely must do the multimedia follow-up, even though it's no longer upfront. People can't know your value comparison if you don't do the media and marketing. So when you reorder it, Jim, here's what happens is that you get things back to normal. So you do the meeting and then you tell them, Jim, I'm going to follow up with multimedia marketing because I like you and I've got something I think you'll be interested in. Now, when I tell them my story and show them my pictures and graphics and I build up the value of what I'm selling, now I'm back to being able to get the sales and the signups that I used to get. And that's why I think that audiobooks and multimedia integration is the fastest way to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what are some of the things you're seeing people use as their multimedia follow-up? They meet somebody online. It seems like a lot of people don't necessarily have a strategy outside of just tell you what they're doing, right?
That's the sad part. And I mean that sincerely, is that because I put on big networking events, I'd ask them, what are you doing for follow-up? Oh, I'm not following up. I just go to events. Well, how many events do you go to? More and more and more, because I'm just not getting sales. I just keep going more and more and more events. And they're getting burned out on Zoom meetings and everything. So I realized this is really vitally important to help people to break out of this constant cycle of doing more and more meetings. Multimedia integration is great because it breaks that cycle. Once I capture your story through an interview, I put you up on a pedestal. So the way it works, Jim, I interview you about what I need to ask you to help you tell your story. Mm-hmm. Then I record the interview, and now we can add an audio book cover to it. And now all of a sudden you've got your multimedia, because you can spend, zillions of dollars. There's no limit on how much money you can spend, but I can start creating an audio book today by sending people to go to smartphoneaudiobooks.com. I have a form. You can start answering the questions about who do you help? What do your clients need? I've got all of the classic storytelling component questions there that'll help you to start to create your own story, your own multimedia follow-up story. Then you want to capture it. You don't want to keep telling it live over and over at more and more events. You need to capture it. So it's like a clone working for you while you're busy doing other things or having fun or whatever you want to do. So then I capture the story And we add a book cover for it because that's what's perfect. It's hard to be good on video. Don't bother doing it. You don't need to. You follow up with a cover book, a book cover that you put on Pinterest or Instagram. And now you've got the ideal multimedia. You can follow up on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, multimedia emailers, Slack network. There's so many different ways to follow up, Jim. That's what we help people do. And we provide massive support and training for them to make sure that because I believe in no entrepreneur left behind. I want to help everybody, every size business adapt to the new reality of business. And I don't want their elevator pitch to take them down or keep them from rising up. So before you attend another networking event, stop, learn more about networking, because you can't learn networking at events, and you can reverse your course upward and begin to focus on multimedia integration quickly and effectively. But the fortune's in the follow-up.
It really is true. If you could stop sharing your screen here, I just wanted to, just mention to everyone, as you're out there and really planning your strategy going into this next year, there really does need to be a strategy. And sometimes, you know what I realized, Mike? There was this person told me the story. It's one of those what do they call them, blonde jokes? But we won't call it blonde joke. We'll call it something else. But they said year after year, they were always encouraged, her and her friend, to go shopping for turkey. They didn't think that they could do such a great job. So this past year, they said they actually went there, and lo and behold, the first shot they got the turkey, and they actually shot a turkey, and her
No
friend,
kidding.
yeah, their friend was so excited, and so the friend said, "Let me try it." And her friend took out her gun. She shot the turkey as well. And they said they were having a great time till the store manager came and chased them out of the store. But anyway, we just want to let you know, in everything that you do, there's always a setup and there's always a punchline to a joke.
Yeah.
And, really the setup is for the punchline. Right now, the setup is really important in terms of how you are positioning yourself in the marketplace, right? Some people might feel like they have that victory because they did shoot the turkey, even though the frame of reference wasn't correct. There wasn't a lot of context, proper context. A lot of people out there, sadly, Mike, are really out there. They don't have a context. And it's true, you can define your world a little bit. But unfortunately, some are developing the bad habits, and they're also not establishing the good habits as they're out there networking. Now, it's never wrong to meet new people. It's never a bad thing. But there is a strategic way where you can optimize your time. And Mike, I know just through all this multimedia follow-up, you've just given us an incredible gem to make sure that we do have an effective follow-up plan for people. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you value your time. Don't just try to pop in at every meeting, try to meet everybody, talk to everybody about everything. It just doesn't work. And so before we end out here, we've already given you some really great advice in terms of the platforms themselves. We've talked about the Zoom platform, the MeetUp platform, the Eventbrite platform. We've talked about the whole mindset of really how to be able to capture the space to make yourself credible, how to do effective follow-up with people, right? But even before all of this, how should you be spending your time? Mike, before we end out, can you tell people, with all the options that are out there, what are some of the best ways for people to determine the best meetings for them to go to during this time period for them? Mike Hayes.
Yeah, I believe that a couple of things. Inviting your ideal prospects is smart networking. You network before, during, after. If you're going to a networking event, maybe you meet your perfect ideal person as a prospect at a networking event. one thing I guarantee everything everybody has in common at networking events is an interest in networking. So when you invite them to the next networking event that you're going to, you start to build a rapport immediately. So that's one thing. The second thing is you've got to know where you're going if you want to get there successfully. So once you know where you're going, then you can determine where to start. Well, if you have to do multimedia, follow-up, then the best place to start is where you're going to be able to do it. And that is with Eventbrite integration. So I help people to start posting their own events or our events on Eventbrite so they can, like client magnets, like when people see a big event like behind me, they all, oh, I want to go to a big event. So, I help people create their own RSVP accounts on Eventbrite and then follow up afterwards using Eventbrite automation. So really the beginning and the end of the journey for me is networking and follow-up networking using automations and really integrating those with your story and your multimedia. But if you don't follow up with multimedia, then you're really just it's going to beat you down over time, and you're going to face either setbacks or even obsolescence. So, but the good news is, like I say, if you do adapt your business to the new reality, Jim, then the sky is truly the limit. I talk to people that are doubling their incomes when they're doing it right. So I give people encouragement, and I can give them a blueprint that I personally use.
Yes. Well, find out more about just what we're talking about. You're going to want to go to crossgroupnetworking.com and you can find out some great information. Please feel free to comment on some of the things we shared about, what you like best about what was shared here, and make sure you subscribe to this channel here. And, this is, virtually ready. This is a virtually ready platform that we're providing some great information, cutting edge information in terms of how to be effective in this new normal economy. And so as we put up this content, please feel free again to share it and also join one of our events. Again, go to crossgroupnetworking.com. And we hope that we've given you some real good things to think about to position yourself for your success. This is Jim T. Chong, the Walkstar, along with
Jim T. Chong's broadcasting partner, Mike Hayes, AKA the Network King.